What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Friends and followers. I thought I had my sweater in here. I feel all half naked. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Labria Jones, Remote Work Queen, and I'm here to answer your questions about how you can do great work from anywhere. Starting with the questions that were posted on Instagram. Let me log into Instagram right quick and get those questions. I also wonder if I can post to tell people that I'm live. I don't think I can. All right, so let's get this party started. Let me see what my questions are. If you're here, say hey. If you're catching the replay, you can still say hey. I'll circle back in the comments and say hello back to you. I have 6 questions, so we might be able to get some questions in the live session also. All right. Before I get started, let me just introduce myself. My name is Liberty Jones. I got gray hairs. Y'all giving me grace. Hey, Quashonda. My name is Liberty Jones. I have been working remotely for like 13 years. 13? God, I don't know, 14 years at this point. In some fashion, in some way, fashion, or form, I have worked remotely every way there is to work remotely. I got a remote job. I freelanced, I ran a digital business, and I convinced my employer to let me work remotely. So I've worked remotely in every way there is to work remotely for over 13 years. So what up? Hey, Toya. Hey, Latina. Hey, God's inspirational daughter and the open office. How you guys doing? Thanks for joining me on this good Tuesday evening. Let me take a little sip. Hold on. Let's get some questions answered. Every Tuesday for the rest of this year, I do a live just answering your questions on your journey to doing great work from anywhere. Starting next year, starting 2022, I will do them once a year. So they'll be the last Tuesday of every month. But I'll do them weekly for the people that are in the Quick Commuting Academy, which we can talk more about later. All right, let me get started because in 30 minutes, I gotta go. I got stuff to do tonight. All right, so first question. For someone just starting the telework job search, what do you recommend? I recommend you download my free guide with my favorite places to find remote work. It's got a list of, I think, about 10 places that you can find remote jobs. You can actually find remote jobs on LinkedIn. You can find remote jobs on Indeed. The difference between Indeed and LinkedIn and my guide is that the guide is going to take you to places that are specific for remote work. LinkedIn and Indeed are not specific job boards for remote work. So you got to sift through that stuff, right? And a lot of times you guys get tired. You get fatigued and you're like, I don't want to keep searching for remote jobs. And so the great thing about the guide is it's going to take you directly to the places that are specifically designed and created to post remote jobs so that you don't have to sift through all the other stuff. Because then what you end up saying is, I keep trying to find remote jobs and I can't find any. Well, that's because you're looking through regular job boards like LinkedIn and Indeed. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with LinkedIn, nothing wrong with Indeed. I think they're great job boards. They are not specific for remote work. There's so many job boards out there. I know of at least 20 job boards out there that are free. I didn't mean to say free. Some of them are not free. There are at least 20 job boards out there that are specific to remote work. Like they are designed, created, they're up on the internet just to share remote jobs. So I'd say start with the guide. The next thing I tell you to do is, if you want to level up, get my remote ready bundle, because that bundle has 75 places to find remote work. 75. Here's the truth. You don't need 75 places. Like, that's a lot. You don't need 75, but it's actually broken down into sections. It's broken down into remote job boards, nonprofit remote job boards, international remote job boards, and then there's a list of remote first companies. So, and then companies that just happen to hire remotely. They're not necessarily fully remote companies, but they do have remote positions. They have part in-person positions and part remote positions. Like my company is one of those. Some of our employees work at the office, and some of us work from wherever we want to. So thank you for saying that. Quashonda said that she has a remote ready bundle and it is bomb. I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So hopefully that answers your question, TV Foxy. I'd say, the first place to start is to start looking. Fusion said, I just began working from home as a community health worker. Congratulations, that's awesome. I'm looking to add more hours and wanted something that is customer service based and about 20 hours a week. That's so specific. Any suggestions on where I can start my search? Still adjusting from working from home. Any tips on creating a home office in a small place? So he snuck in 2 questions in his one post. The first question, where to look, same place that I just mentioned. My free guide or the remote ready bundle both have places that those job boards, I say this all the time, are agnostic to they pretty much cover every scenario, right? So whether you want to be able to work from anywhere, whether you want to work internationally, whether you want to work part-time, whether you want to work in customer service or project management or technology or marketing or anything, those job boards have remote positions that meet all of those, right? So it's just a matter of going to the job boards and using the filters for part-time, right? So I say do that. I'd say Fusion, my new friend. I've not seen your name before, so hey, new friend. Head over to remote.co is a great example. If you go to remote.co and you scroll all the way to the bottom where there's like a black bar and it's almost like the website's index. If you go to, I think the last list on the left, on the right-hand side, there's a filter for part-time. So just click on that filter and you'll see some part-time remote jobs. There you go. And then any tips on creating a home office in a small space? I actually did a whole blog post on this. So let me drop the link to that. Let's see if I can drop the link to that. Yes, my tips on creating a home office in a small space is I think my home office is a little small. I mean, it's a bedroom, but compared to what I had before, like I had a whole living room basically in my townhouse that was just dedicated to my office. So I had a whole lot of space. Like I could do backflips and cartwheels up in that thing. So I did a blog post about creating workspaces. And when I was living with my parents in 2017, I was staying with my parents for a little while. There was just not a lot of space in their house. And my mom did this really cool thing where she made, those hospital tables that go up and down. She got those and she used that as my desk. So I could pull it up to my bed, or I could pull it up to the couch. I could wheel it around. I could adjust it. And that's kind of a great way to have almost like a mobile office, especially if you have a really small space. I'm going to find the blog post and post that. That was one of the suggestions that I have. And there's a link to that desk in the blog post. The other thing I'll say is, wait, where is that blog post? Ooh, I have no idea where that blog post is, y'all. I'm gonna have to find it. I'll have to find it and post it. I think it's on my old website. I think it's actually on my old website. Yeah, it's called Workspaces. But yeah, just, whatever you make your workplace, though, make it a dedicated space. If you can, as much as you can, make it a dedicated space so that you can stay focused. It's so important to have a dedicated workspace so you can be focused. Even if it's a dedicated workspace that you got to pack up at the end of the day, during your work hours, that is your space. Y'all excuse my space. It's a hot mess today. I keep trying to clean it up and it's just not working out for me because I'm doing too much. I got a new tripod. I got a new camera, about to set my YouTube game up. And I got stuff strewn about everywhere. But anyway, so if you need to, the small workspace, I'm going to drop the blog post in the description and I'll drop a link to that desk that I'm talking about. My mom's kind of a genius for coming up with that. I think it's such a great thing. And I'm actually going to get one for me and one for my daughter. And we're going to kind of try to decorate it, do a DIY so that we can have it at home. Also, Fusion. If you don't mind telling us where you work as a community health worker, where you work remotely as a community health worker, because I know other people would love to know where you work and whether or not those opportunities are available to them. So I'll reply on Instagram and ask you to share that. Caprici ATL. I noticed that some remote jobs do not post the pay. Since that is the case, should I even bother to apply for the position? So newsflash, most jobs, let's take the remote out of that. Most jobs don't post the pay. I mean, way before I started working remotely, most of the jobs never posted the pay. That's a common practice. It's a common HR practice. Most jobs don't post the pay. I mean, I see very few positions that post their pay range. I get excited when I see a pay range. So that's not specific to remote jobs. So let's let's not attribute that to remote positions. That's just the way it is, right? Um, there's a lot of reasons that I probably don't agree with for companies not posting their pay. I don't agree with it. I think it should be very transparent. But yeah, should you bother to apply for the position? Do you want a job? So think about it this way. I feel like a lot of people don't bother to apply because the posting either does not tell them everything they want to know, right? Or they're not clear about certain things. Like somebody asked about pay, somebody asked about location. I think the other day someone mentioned that the position didn't say if you had to be located in a specific state or something like that. Somebody posted that on another post that I had. And I was like, that's not a reason not to apply. Like, you can at least apply. What do you lose by applying for the position? That's my question back to you guys. Like, what do you lose by filling out the form and hitting the apply button? You don't lose anything but the 5 minutes it took you to do that, right? And if they call you for an interview, you can always ask more questions, right? If you get an interview, you can ask more questions. You can also, I tell people this all the time, don't forget to look that company up on Glassdoor, glassdoor.com. Let me type that in here. I gotta look around my wine glass. Glassdoor.com. And you can get a feel for what their average pay ranges are for specific positions, because Glassdoor will share average pay ranges, and they'll also share reviews about the company too. Before you ever interview for a position, make sure you go look at Glassdoor so you can see what current employees are talking about, previous employees are saying about it, and even what people say about the interview process. There's usually some good tidbits about the interview process on there too. So hopefully that answers your question. She asked the second question. I have also found that some remote jobs say they're located in a specific state other than my state. Does that mean I can still apply, or will that exclude me? I don't know. It depends, right? So there, some software, applicant tracking system software, which is what you're seeing the job posting on, right? So you're looking at a job posting, and it's usually in some software. It's in Workday, or I think it's called Trio or Recruiter Box, or some software that they use to create those job postings. Some of them require them to put in a location, right? So they have to put in a location. That doesn't mean it's not remote. They're just required to put in a location. So no idea. It doesn't exclude you unless it says you must be located in this place. But again, that's information you can get if they call you for an interview, right? So apply for the job. When they reach out and say, because if they reach out to interview you, they can see where you are because it says it on your application and on your resume, right? So they could always reach out and be like, yeah, you're located in Georgia. Are you willing to move to Illinois? Right? They can reach out and say that, or you can just ask them. So again, don't let the things that you don't know yet be the thing that keeps you from applying for a job, right? Because you lose nothing by applying except for the 3 to 5 minutes it took you to apply, and everything else you can get answers to throughout the process. All right. Next question is, just saying thanks for all you do. I don't have any questions. I'm getting my sassy resume together. Hey. And I'm digging Trello so far. That's awesome. So this person apparently has a remote ready bundle and is going through some of the tools that I've shared on there, which is awesome. Kinsman Point Consulting. I'm a project manager working from home. My desire is to transition from my employer to freelance. My Instagram page is focused on that, and I've connected with another PM who has her own business, and we are in discussions about projects that she doesn't have the bandwidth to do. That's so great that I could take on. My question is, what formula would you use to set either your hourly or monthly rate? Ooh, that's a great question. What formula would you use to set your hourly or monthly rate? So here's a great starting point. One, this is dope. I really appreciate how you are approaching this. So basically, okay, Quashonda, I'm so proud of you. Quashonda is basically working to be a freelance project manager, which is excellent. I used to work as a freelance project manager also. And what she has done is reached out to another project manager who basically has too much work and is like, I need to offload some of my clients onto someone else. So she's not even having to do marketing for herself. She's not even having to go figure out and find clients. She has basically connected with someone built a network where she can get leads for clients. Not even leads, she can get business. This is excellent. You're doing an excellent job. So there's a couple of rules of thumb. So for one, you could you could find out, what they're willing to pay. You can look at what other people are paying. So like you could go on Upwork or you can go on Fiverr and look at some of the project managers on there and see what they're charging, right? You can see what their rates are, their hourly rates are. Another thing that you could do is take your current salary, right? You take your current salary as a project manager and divide that by 2080. Take that, divide it by 2080. That is your hourly rate. That's your hourly salary, right? So that would be the minimum. That could be the minimum, right? For me, I'd say I want to make at least what I make at work every day, right? At the very least. If you were to go out on your own, right? If you were to transition out as a contractor, as a freelancer, you are now responsible for your health insurance. So then what I'd say is consider your total compensation package, and your total compensation package is your salary. It's also your healthcare and benefits, right? It's whatever they contribute to your 401k on your behalf. And it is also any bonus that you get. So take your total compensation package and divide that by 2080. And that's your hourly rate that covers what you have right now as an employee. So that's another way to look at it. You may consider that you want to work your way to that, right? You may say, well, I'd like to get my feet wet, so I might do a discount rate. That's up to you. You don't have to do that. We are in a time of know your worth and add taxes. So you decide how you want to approach that. But some of the easiest rules of thumb are to take your current salary and divide that by 2080, or take your total compensation package and divide that by 2080. Another thing you could consider doing is if you work for a consulting company, what do they charge for your hours, right? So can you find out what does your company charge for your hours, which is very different than your hourly rate. So my company charges a lot more for my hours. They charge my clients. So I work for a consulting firm, and basically they sell my time. They put me on client projects, and they charge the clients. Let's say that this is not a client, so I can't really reveal our clients, but let's just say YouTube was a client. They're not. It'd be nice though. YouTube, holla at us. Let's just say YouTube was a client. They would bill YouTube for my hours on an hourly rate. And what they bill for that is like 3 or 4 times what I actually make. So another rule of thumb, another marker you could look at is what does your company bill for your hours? What are they billing outside of you for your hours? Hopefully that's helpful. I do want to say that I'm super proud of you. I think what you're doing is amazing, and you are approaching this the exact right way. And be sure that every project you work on, you document it, you do it like a case study. Like, here's the problem, here's how I solved it, right? And here's the outcome. And make sure you get feedback from the client so that you can start to use that to build your profile. Even if you just create a website and put that stuff on your website, or go on Upwork and build a profile on Upwork and use it there. Upwork is a great tool for freelancers. And just know that major companies around the world do hire freelancers from Upwork. One of my friends has built an almost $500,000 business working with huge clients on Upwork. So good luck to you, Kashonda. I'm super excited for you. Hopefully that was helpful. I'd love to know what you had been thinking though. So feel free to drop in the comments and let me know what you've been thinking for your hourly rate. Do I need certification for data management? There's so many remote data administration jobs. It depends on what you're talking about for data management. So I work in the data management field. You could go in as a data analyst or a business analyst without a certification. I don't know anybody that has a certification, but I will say a lot of these people have degrees in a related field. So like information systems and things like that. I'd say, here's what I would suggest that you do as Taylor. look at some of these remote data management positions, find like 3 or 4 that appear to be positions you would love to have, and get clear on what you see is consistent across those. You know, what are the requirements that these companies are asking for these positions? What kind of background and skills are these people looking for? Right. And then what I want you to do is go ahead and make a one section, take some notes, one section, identify the things that are in those job postings that you already have, right? Identify those things that are in those job postings that you already have. So if they ask for 3 years of experience inputting data, for example, or doing data quality, if they ask for that and you have that, list that somewhere, right? So make a list of things across those quote unquote dream positions, profile positions is what I'll call it. Write those down somewhere, right? And then look at the things that you don't have yet and make a list of those. And that gets to be your plan, right? That gets to be your training and development plan. This is what I need to go out and get or go out and do in order to get to where I want to be. So maybe consider taking that approach. But I don't know a whole lot of people who have certifications in data management. I work in this field. I work with a lot of people who do this, but I will say they do have an information systems background usually, meaning they went to college for information systems. Hopefully that answers your question. Good luck to you. Data management is a great field. It's a huge field right now. Data is the new currency right now. In this day and age, is it a good idea to do a 1-minute video introducing yourself to a potential employer and include it with your resume? That's a good question. I have no idea. And I think it depends on the area that you work in. Like I couldn't see that working for finance. I couldn't see that working at a bank or for finance or things like that. I used to have a website. I wish I still had it up. I might revive it just so I can use it as an example. But I did have a website and it was super simple. And it basically had my resume. It had projects that I'd worked on. It had my philosophy as a project manager. And it had a little bit about me and my personal life. What are some of my personal goals? And I've seen people do stuff like that to add a little bit of extra oomph. So I'd say if you did something like that, maybe make it so that people can go see it if they want to. Like, I don't know if I'd include it with my resume. I actually want to ask this question now. So I'm going to post this question on Instagram sometime this week and see what people think. I like the question. Thank you for asking. I'm going to say for one, it definitely would depend on your area. Like if you're going into something creative, sure, that sounds great. But if you're like going into banking, please don't do that. Please don't do it. So I don't know the answer to that. Let's take that one to the community. And so I'll see you over on Instagram. Let's see if we can get that question answered. The Remote Ready bundle helped me level up my resume and LinkedIn profile. That's so excellent to hear. Thank you to Open Office. Hey, Stephanie. Is there such a thing as applying to too many jobs? I feel like I'm addicted to applying for jobs at this point, and I already work remotely. No, I don't think anything bad happens to you. I'd say that I'm curious as to why you're applying for so many jobs, and if the jobs that you're applying for are jobs that you really want. Are they next level? Are they new experiences, new skills, new development? And maybe figure out what it is you're actually looking for, right? So are you unhappy where you are? Is there something else that you're looking for or looking to do? And maybe step back and figure out what it is you're trying to get to, right? And that way you can focus your time a little bit better instead of just, and this is just what it sounds like based on the comment, okay? I'm making all kinds of assumptions. Instead of randomly applying for jobs, you could be spending that time advancing your skills, right? So what is the next thing that you'd love to do in your career? Let's focus that attention and time on learning that new skill, getting a new certification, getting exposed to something else, right? So that you can start to move your career forward and do the very next thing and get to the next level, rather than randomly applying for jobs. I'd also love to know, like, what what you feel like you're missing in your current job. Like, why are you hitting that button? Why are you looking outside? It's kind of like being in a relationship, right? Like, you are in a relationship with a company right now. And in this relationship, you're like on Bumble swiping right on dudes. You're just on Bumble swiping right on dudes. So the real question is, why aren't you happy with the man that you have? Like, what is it that you need fulfilled? Now, don't get me wrong. I think that people should always be in the market, not in relationships. I'm not saying keep it possible in your relationships. I'm saying for work. Let's get back to work. Get back to career. I know I left us for a second with that analogy, but let's get back to the specific thing that we were talking about. I do believe that it makes sense to look from time to time. I always recommend that people interview at least 2 or 3 times a year for another job, just so that you know what's out there, so you stay fresh, so you stay on the pulse, and so you're never missing opportunities. And even you can use that as an opportunity to improve your current position, right? So I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is, Amirio, why are you doing it so much, right? Why are you on the work version of Bumble swiping right like crazy when you got a man? That's what I want to know. Good tip on not omitting applying because the job description doesn't tell me everything up front. That was a deterrent for me to apply sometimes. Yeah, I mean, that's like someone making an assumption about you without ever talking to you. Let me tell y'all something. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story. This guy, me and this guy were supposed to go on a date, and I wanted him to plan the first date. My feelings are, first date is on the guy. Everything after that is up for grabs. Like, if I ask you out, I'm gonna pay for it. If you ask me out, I think you should pay for it. Like, that's just how I feel like it should go. Before we could even get into this conversation, he assumed that I was a gold digger, and we have not talked since. Like, he went on this long rant about how men be spending all this money on dates, and there's not even a connection, and why don't I spend some money on some dates and see what it's like, and blah 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 blah. Like, he went on this whole, you don't even have to spend money on me. Like, had he actually had a conversation with me, he would have understood that, like, we could have just gone to the gym and worked out or something. Like, we could have gone to the park and walked around for free. I don't care what we do. But he made this assumption, so he never ended up scheduling a date, planning a date. We didn't go on a date. He done missed out because I'm amazing. So it's the same thing. What if someone made assumptions about you without even trying, just because the information's not readily available? It's just not there, right? It's just a job posting. So you don't lose any time by applying for the job, and then you find out, and when they reach out, you can ask some questions and keep it moving. So just don't start out with making assumptions that turn it into a no for you. Okay. I hope that example made sense. Let's see. Too bad for him. Listen, too bad for him. When I tell you, he went on the longest rant ever, and he was like, we talk about this in this Facebook group I'm in all the time. I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Then you lost me at Facebook group. How women are always, and I have some female friends, and they hit me to game. I was like, wow, that's unfortunate for you. So he made some assumptions without actually having a conversation with me, and he missed out. For my monthly rate, I was looking at my current monthly expenses and adding 10 to 20% in my base rate. That could go up from there based on the scope of work. I like your idea as well. Yeah, that's an option too. I say play around with those numbers and see what feels like the best fit for you. But I like that, like Latina KPC. Oh, that was going to be your question also. Got it. All right. I think I hit all the questions. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm going to reiterate that I do have a free guide with my favorite places to find remote work. I will drop a link to that right now. LibriaJones.com. Let me spell my own name right. All right. So that's the free guide. It's going to be in the description box as well. If you want a little bit of extra help, as you can see, people have said the remote ready bundle is bomb. I personally think it's bomb. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but I think it's pretty dope. And it's less than $50, and you can pay for it in 2 installments. So you can pay $23.50 this month and then $23.50 next month. I know we're all Christmas shopping, so money is slim. But you can grab the remote ready bundle. It's going to guide you through 4 phases of landing remote work. So we start out talking about the myths. about remote work, like the things that are keeping people from even trying to get remote work. And we started out talking about transitioning from physical work to remote work. And then we talk about where to find the jobs, right? So a lot of people always ask me, where are the remote jobs? So we go into detail about that. I teach you how to search the way I search and talk to Google the way that Google really understands. Talk to Google in its language. And then phase 2, we talk about how to apply for the job, because there's a right and a wrong way to apply for jobs. I think there's an art and a science to it. And then we talk about how to nail interviews. I know so many people, I used to interview people quite a lot. Actually, I have to interview somebody tomorrow. And people come to interviews not ready. They come to interviews half-cocked. And people come to interviews with this aura of, I'm begging you to give me a job, right? And my whole thought is completely different. You are rolling in there to explain to them why, to show them that you've got values, you have value, you have experience, you have skills that they need, but also you're there to interview them. Like, I'm here to find out if I like you. Back to that date analogy, right? Like, I'm not showing up to a date trying to get some guy to like me. I'm showing up to a date fully as myself, and I'm trying to decide if I like him enough to go out again. So we talk about that in the Remote Ready Bundle, but I also show you how to prepare for interviews. And you're going to show up that way if you're confident. And so we go through how to build that confidence and how to be prepared for that. And then, oh, thank you, Open Office. Yeah, y'all hit the like button. I appreciate that. I walk you through how to do the interview. And there's actually a mock interview. I actually did an interview in there. Someone interviewed me for my current job in the Remote Ready Bundle. And real talk, I was nervous in the interview, tripped over my words, and I didn't edit any of that out because I want you to see that it is okay. People expect you to be nervous in interviews. It's okay. What's not okay is not being prepared. And then stage 4, we talk about how to negotiate and what you can negotiate besides salary. Because here is my requirement for all of you. You must negotiate. Even if they end up saying no, you must negotiate. You must advocate for yourself. I want you to start this relationship being an advocate for you. Most recruiters expect you to negotiate. So I want you to negotiate. So we talk through that too. And again, that's the 4 phases, and it's less than $50. So you guys can grab the Remote Ready Bundle. I'll drop a link to it in the description. Other than that, we have a quick commuting conference coming up in April. We'll talk more about that. Tickets aren't available just yet, so we won't even have to go there right now. And then we'll be starting a quick commuting academy, which is a basically an inner circle where you get a whole lot more of my time, and you get access to career coaches, resume writers, interview coaches, LinkedIn writers, LinkedIn profile writers at discounted rates. And you'll also get a lot more great and detailed content. Like, we'll do a masterclass on how to build a freelance career, right? How to get clients in freelancing, how to price your services, all kinds of stuff. So you'll get a lot more very, very detailed content. And that's it. That's it for the night. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. If you are catching the replay, feel free to drop questions or comments. I get an email every time you guys comment. So if you have a question, feel free to ask me. Even though you weren't on the live, I can come back and answer the question in the comments. And I will see y'all Tuesday next week, which is Christmas week. But I will be here. So I'll see you guys then. Good night, y'all.